The acting IRS commissioner resigned after agency reaches data sharing deal with immigration authorities. That was the line, my friends. Did you know that collections are up for lower income individuals? Audits are up for lower income individuals. And while the media keeps running around with this narrative saying, no, the Biden admin was only targeting the wealthiest, that's not necessarily true. Now, Biden did have a plan where he said, stop auditing lower income individuals in this country. That was the public facing plan. Instead of writing a story that says something like, I don't know, they're still auditing lower income people and collections have increased for low income people as predicted, they said government is behind on Biden plan to stop auditing people under 400K. I love how they do it. So here is an agency where they're going to go after regular working people with collections. They're going to hire 87,000 individuals. But the line is when they say, if illegal immigrants are in this country, we want their information. They are subject to deportation. They go, no. But they'll take your money. This is the backwards reality that we're living in right now. And this system cannot survive. So with everybody talking about Donald Trump and markets and tariffs, I don't care. Jon Stewart can laugh and go, but the markets. And I'm going to say, don't care. I feel for people who are losing money. But we cannot exist in a system where, I don't know, homes are being sold to foreign individuals as investments and Gen Z can't buy them. This is the end of the United States if nothing is done about it. But hey, we'll get into that in a little bit. We got this story first from CNN. Acting IRS commissioner resigning. Oh, heavens me. IRS commissioner Melanie Cross informed her staff Tuesday she is leaving the agency amid internal chaos and the exodus of several senior IRS officials, according to 2 current IRS employees and 1 former. And I say, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Cross's decision to accept the agency's deferred resignation offer comes on the heels of the IRS and DHS finalizing an agreement Monday to provide sensitive taxpayer data to federal immigration authorities to help the Trump admin locate and deport undocumented immigrants. So undocumented people here illegally, mind you. The controversial data sharing agreement between the agencies was one factor that played a role in Cross's decision to leave, according to one source with knowledge of the situation. The source said that the last draft of the agreement that Cross had been involved with and had reviewed was different from the final agreement. Cross learned about the details of the final agreement from the news. There were other reasons Cross wanted to leave, the source said, including the direction that the agency was going and in the exodus of multiple senior executive career employees in the last few years. The IRS has seen 3 leaders depart this year, an unprecedented level of upheaval for the beleaguered tax collecting agency. The Biden appointed and Senate confirmed IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel resigned on Inauguration Day. Oh, that's hilarious. The acting commissioner who succeeded him, Doug O'Connell, refused to sign a data sharing agreement with DHS in February, shortly after retired. I love it. Cross then took over in an acting capacity. She had only been at the IRS for 3.5 years before her decision to leave. 3.5 years. So during the Biden administration and all the Biden administration was doing, you were there and you didn't really care about, you know what, spare me. They will gut and dismantle the lives of hardworking Americans, but they will do everything to bend over backwards for people who are here illegally. Now, it ain't all progressive policy. For a lot of these people, they're looking at a system saying it's going to collapse. So influx of individuals, let's go, baby. They know what they're doing. They argue this in public. The system cannot be sustained without new population growth, and we don't have it. So bring in the migrants. We can't do it legally, do it illegally. You know what? Trump can't deport them all. That's the game they're playing. Either way, that strategy is the end of the United States. Sure, the nation will be worn as a skin suit by disparate pockets of various cultures that pop up all over the place. But there will be no cohesive USA. They say Melanie Cross has been leading the IRS through a time of extraordinary change as we focus on IT modernization and reorganize the agency and blah, blah, blah. This is why Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent ultimately ended up being the person who signed the memorandum of understanding with DHS, that source said. As CNN reported earlier Tuesday, the dispute over the data sharing deal triggered multiple resignations. Why? They're not legally allowed. I don't get it. These people broke the law. I quit. Would you like to help us stop these criminals? No. Okay. A top priority for the administration is reassigning IRS criminal investigators to do immigration-related investigations to support DHS in border enforcement work. The discussion have also included the possibility of moving the IRS Criminal Investigations Agency to be part of the Treasury. The person familiar with the matter said. Interesting. Well, let's talk about debt dare IRS, my friends. I love this article from September. This is Biden admin. IRS is behind on Biden policy to not increase audits for households under 400K. I love these scumbags. I mean that facetiously. How they word things like weasels. IRS is behind on Biden policy to not increase audits for households under 400K. Sounds like what you're saying is, quote, despite the Biden policy to limit audits on households under 400K, they are increasing them, right? Well, at the very least, what we can discern from this is the Biden admin supposedly wanted, I say supposedly because they weren't doing it, but they publicly were saying, stop auditing lower income households. But they kept doing it. In fact, data shows the lowest income earners faced some of the highest audits. President Joe Biden promised tens of billions of dollars to the IRS in the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act would not be used to increase audits of individuals making $400,000 annually. But an IRS watchdog is questioning whether the agency will actually be able to fulfill that promise. Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration reported on August 26. The IRS had not developed a plan to comply with the 2022 directive. You see how these weasels do this? So let's try this. 2 years after the promise was made, they have still been increasing audits on lower income people. How about you say that? No. The issue is it was bad news because they were still doing it, so they word it with weasel words to make it sound like a different story. While the agency was selected as selected tax year 2018 as the base year for comparing future audits, it hasn't finalized a methodology, blah, blah, blah. According to the report, IRS dropped the idea and emphasized that any proposal shouldn't be considered definitive until that methodology is finished. Fine. Let me tell you what we expected from this. When they hired 87,000 IRS agents or whatever, same story, the same as the other one. They hired 87,000 agents or whatever it was and said they're not going to audit people under 400K. And I said they don't need to. They're going to issue automated collections. And that's exactly what happened. Take a look at this, my friends, from ChatGPT. Of course, it is all sourced. As you can see, I requested the source on this stuff. So I've been asking it about increased collections. Have collections increased? According to the IRS, yes, IRS collections have increased in recent years, particularly due to enhanced enforcement efforts targeting high-income individuals and large corporations. They collected more than $5.1 trillion in tax revenue, including over $98 billion from enforcement activities. Wow. A significant portion of these resulted from initiatives aimed at wealthy taxpayers. Well, ChatGPT is biased. It always plays these games. I said, the other day, how many millennials have 401ks? And it goes, of the people eligible, 62. No. I said, how many of all? And it goes, half. Okay, and what do they have? They have 50,000. Actually, the median is 15 to 20. Always try to play these games. So I asked, does it affect the lower income brackets? Yes. Increased IRS collections do affect lower income brackets, especially through automated enforcement actions. Automated notices and collection letters, wage garnishments, refund holds, or offsets. According to Watchdog reports, audit and collection rates on low-income filers haven't significantly dropped, and in some cases remain disproportionately high. They rely heavily on automation. So yes, even if the intent is to go after the wealthy, it still hits the lower brackets. I asked it for a source. Here's what it added. I understand your concern regarding, and mind you, most of these do have direct sources, AP, Reuters, IRS. I asked it for a source on this one, and it said, audit rates for low-income earners, according to 2023 by Kiplinger, taxpayers earning less than $25,000, particularly those claiming the earned income tax credit, have faced higher audit rates compared to other groups. In recent years, this group was audited at a rate of about 1.27%, more than 5 times the overall average. So these people have no problem auditing the poor. They just PR-wise go out in the public and say, but we're only targeting the rich. Then when Donald Trump says, hey, we want to use this data to go after illegal immigrants, they resign. Amazing. They're going to say a report from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration in 2024, August, indicated the IRS had made limited progress in developing methodology to ensure compliance. This we get it. So here we are, my friends. You have people who are getting free housing, luxury hotels, government benefits. They get paid hundreds of dollars, if not thousands per month. And the youngest generation in this country are left holding an empty bag. We are literally extracting this nation for non-citizens, selling our property and our assets off to foreign investors. And let me wrap by saying this. I mentioned in the earlier segments, we talk about the trade wars and the tariffs and all this stuff. A trade deficit means we are buying more than we're generating. That is to say, if at your job you get paid $1,000 a week to make donuts, but you're buying $2,000 worth of donuts from your boss, that's a deficit, a trade deficit. Eventually, you run out of money because you are just going in debt. Eventually, your creditors, creditors will demand the money back. So let's say if you then decide to, put a stop to those expenses, you got to pay off that debt. This deficit will lead to the collapse of a nation. But let's say you wanted to keep buying those donuts. How can you do it? Sell your assets. You got some land? Sell it. You got a stereo? Sell it. If this country wants to remain addicted to buying without producing, what happens is obvious. Over the past couple of decades, we have been selling off the assets of this nation to pay for our spending addiction while we don't make anything. That's the end of this country. And the IRS is more than happy to go after the Americans and let the illegal immigrants go. I'm going to wrap it up there, my friends. Stay tuned. We got more segments coming up for you. Smash the like button. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we will see you all in a little bit.